Hello and welcome to Across the Formation. It's the brand new American football podcast brought to you with a bit of British flavour and sometimes some humour. That was written for me, like maybe.
Good start, Ollie.
Yeah, exactly. My name is Ollie Hunter, and joining me are my fellow co-presenters and good friends, a talkSPORT's own and American viral sensation, commentator extraordinaire, Gavin, also known as Big Ginge, also known as Big Willie, also known as that British NFL commentator guy, and Sam Two Teams Harris. Boys, how are
teams.
we?
You know that you were going to be getting some stick for being both an Eagles and a Colts fan within seconds of the podcast starting for the first time ever. People are being introduced to you for the first time. Sam does do some of our hosting on talkSPORT. He appeared on some of our live streams this year as well. But he is a Colts fan who has a weird affiliation for the Philadelphia Eagles, so much so that he just picks whoever's being more successful that year and decides to support them. Briefly this year, you were both number one seeds. I don't know how you handled it.
Yeah, it was getting awkward.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Ollie. I will take it briefly on the chin before I get too cringy. Right, let's talk a little bit about what the podcast actually is, though. We're looking to land in this kind of middle of the week where everyone has a little bit of it. We know you've got your favourite review shows. We know you've got your favourite preview shows. We're looking to do this on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, give you a little bit of fun midweek flavour. We're going to do just, looking back on the previous week, we're going to just do one thing from the week that we each have taken away from it, a thing we've learned, a thing we've reflected on and taken a bit of time to think about. What the previous week left us believing. We will do a standout result of the week as well. And then we'll have some kind of topic. So we're talking about, like, next week, we're going to draft our playoff teams. It might be a draft every week. Today, we're going to talk about teams we love that aren't our own. There might be a bit of crossover there. And then we'll each pick a game from week 14 we're super excited about. Just tell you why this is piquing our love of football and our interest. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be kind of fast-paced. It's going to be waffly at times. And we'd love to hear from you about it. So, like, all that usual stuff. Like, subscribe, give it a rating if you're doing this on podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Ask any questions, etc. This is like a very raw piece of clay at the moment. We're figuring out how to mold it. Not that none of us have done podcasts or radio shows for like the last 15 years, but hopefully this is entertaining and you'll have a reason to enjoy it.
And if you've got stuff that you think it could be fun for us to discuss or talk about, for instance, we're going to do a draft every week. It doesn't have to be football draft. NFL Daily recently did the soup draft.
Oh, sensational.
I'm up for the crisp flavour draft. That kind of stuff. So that kind of thing, it's not all going to be all about football, but it's predominantly going to be about football. However, let's get straight to it now.
Let's also, I'm going to cut in here very quickly before we get into it. For our viewers on YouTube, we've just cut from the intro straight to this. There's basically about 10 minutes of waffle that you've just missed, which go and get the podcast version of this because it's going to be expanded, it's going to be longer, it's going to be full of more of us. But let's get into the hard football because that's what the YouTube viewers want. Ollie, take it away.
So we had, I would say, a front-loaded week 13. Thanksgiving was awesome.
Yeah.
The 6 p.m. games were good. The 9 p.m. games weren't that great. And then Sunday night football was a bit of a letdown. Monday night football was intriguing for a whole myriad of reasons. But what did week 13 leave you believing? Let's start with you. Yeah, let's start with you, Will.
All right. I'm going in moment one. Week 13 has me believing, and really it's weeks 9 through 13. My new favourite in the AFC to go and win the whole thing is the Houston Texans.
Do you know what? That's incredible because I genuinely thought you were going to go Drake May and the New England Patriots.
It's been the New England Patriots for so long. Like I really backed the idea that it's obviously one of those years, and I love the idea that with it being such a down year for the Chiefs, who might miss out on the playoffs entirely, particularly if they lose to the Texans this coming weekend, which is a very viable situation on Sunday Night Football. I'd love for Josh Allen to get there, for the Bills Mafia, maybe they finally get over the hump after the 4 losses. I'd love for the Ravens to get there, for Lamar to prove himself, for it to be a whole like playoff drought thing. And when I say favourites, I'm talking about like if I was shading it on percentages, I'm going like every one of the top 4 or 5 teams are sitting in between like 30 and 40%. But just creeping out for me right now is the Houston Texans. And I know you're saying, Will, what are you talking about? Their offense has been dreadful for so long. They were one side of the ball team. Yes, they've got a great defense, but when they meet great teams in the playoffs, they're going to struggle. I think what they offer on the offensive side of the ball, now that they've made the decision to kick Titus Howard inside to guard, to bring Trent Brown in at right tackle, there's just a cohesion which I haven't seen from this team for the last 2.5 years, maybe certainly since CJ Stroud's rookie season. And whilst I think Nick Caley is still figuring it out, and him and CJ Stroud clearly didn't start the year on the same page, the run game is there. It's so much more emergent. Woody Marks coming through. Nick Chubb had a big game at the weekend. So many more interesting concepts. They did so much better. The Colts defense is not a bad defense by any stretch of the imagination. And they were picking up stunts and blitzes. The protection was there. Stroud had time in the pocket. And actually, if you look at the upcoming games that the Texans have, it's not an easy run-in, but it's also not a murderer's row, right? They start off with the Chiefs, and they've also got to face the Colts in week 17. But between then, it's Cardinals and Raiders at home and the beat-up Los Angeles Chargers on the road, right? With everything that Stroud is now getting in front of him, I think he has some time to build some confidence. And then on the other side of the ball, they are just absolute beasts on that side. Will Anderson, his get-off is almost as quick as Nick Bonito's. He shuts guys down so quickly. He was seen as this kind of monster pocket crusher coming into the NFL, but no, now he is a guy who is speed off the edge. Danielle Hunter so good off the other side, collapsing the middle of the pocket up the middle. Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, unbelievable 1-2 at corner. Jalen Petrie, the guy that unlocks that defense, playing from nickel and all over the formation and blitzing. And it's like, I think it's the best pass defense in the NFL. And I think the offense is now at a point where I think it's like at least mediocre to top half. And that's enough with a defense that good to go all the way to San Francisco.
And you didn't talk about the linebackers. Henry To'oTo'o, who I spoke to earlier on in the year. Really impressive guy. He's been amazing in that kind of green dot Mike position. And then Al-Jaiz Al-Shair next to him, who has been that duo are unbelievable. One goes out, the other one steps up, no problem as well. That defense is lights out, and when they're going to be going up against a Raiders offensive line, which is porous, as is the Chargers one, despite a goodish result last week. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great shout.
I think there are a lot of years that Will Anderson would be in with a shout of being Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett's going to break sack records.
Yeah.
Yeah, like no one's getting votes. He might get 50 out of 50 votes. I would be stunned if anyone doesn't vote for him, particularly if he gets 24 sacks this year.
Very quickly, slightly off topic, I'm sorry, but
That's all right.
Will, you saw Myles Garrett in person live as part of the international series this year. He is unbelievable. Like, just watching him live, and that swim kind of like teleport move he did on your boy
Trent Williams this weekend.
Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some incredible plays and catches and moments. That is unbelievable.
He moves like a safety. It's ridiculous how he can get that step off so quickly and just like move to the side as if it's nothing. Like, he is massive. He is huge.
He's one of those guys, and there's very few of these in the NFL. I think truly, I think he's one. I think Micah Parsons is one. Like, you've got some brilliant pass rushers. You've got some guys who are top 5, top 10 guys who could be future Hall of Famers. But you don't have to game plan everything you do in a game around them. Myles Garrett, you literally have to go, right, let's build our entire offense to deal with Myles Garrett, whether that's leaving as a free rusher, whether that's like always running to the other side of the formation, whether that's like, it's just everything has to be based around him. And that's what we saw when we saw the Browns here in London, is that he didn't have a big day on the stat sheet, but he affects every single down and every single play. Just love to watch him. I'm not sure he can after that contract now, though, because yeah, I think it's going to happen now. He made his bed. He lay in it. I'm never going to slang off a guy for getting the bag, right? Like, I think like you have 2, maybe 3 opportunities to get a contract in your career. You should get as much money as possible. Yeah, I'm not talking about necessarily directly Myles Garrett's background, but a lot of these guys' backgrounds is like, you are sorting out generational wealth that's going to set your family up for years to come. But I am one of those people who says, well, yeah, but if you've stayed for the money, you can't throw your toys out of the pram if the team aren't very good because you knew they weren't very good. Anyway, that we are going to go all over the shop if we do it like this. Texans are now my pick for the AFC in an absolute stunner. Watch them go and lose to the Chiefs this weekend now. Sammy, what we saying?
This week 13 left me believing that Traylon Burks has a Hall of Fame catch under his belt. Now, he might not have much in his career when it's all said and done, but that for me, and I know you're shaking your heads, there were some amazing catches this week. Brock was an unreal catch, and I know you guys are going to go for the Puka catch. Let me state my argument for why Burks was better. So he is running directly away from the ball. That ball is coming over his shoulder. Puka has had time to see it, and don't get me wrong, it is still a great catch that he's going like that, but to turn around, and Puka got a bit of a push off. Traylon Burks is literally running away from the ball to then still see it, jump. I think he did get a bit of a push away from him as well, and still grab it one-handed. For me, the whole motion of it is so much harder to do. And the icing on the cake is it was for a touchdown. And I think that separates it from the Puka catch. And I think what makes it even nicer to watch back as well, and I clocked this earlier, it was also in the jersey of number 13, and it did remind me so much of that Odell catch that we all saw.
Sam. On WhatsApp on Sunday night in our group, you did claim that it was better than the Odell Beckham catch, which is why Ollie and I felt we needed to call you out on that today. Because
do you know what? I think I am very much, as you listeners will find out for many weeks that we do this podcast, that I can be quite reactionary and prisoner of the moment. But I've had a few watchbacks of it now, and look, I'm not going to go as far and say it was better than Odell's, but I will say that it was by far the best catch of the week. And I say by far, I think the technique was a lot harder than Puka's, and I'm not taking anything away from Puka's catch or Brock's, but I think it just looked better. I think it was better on the eye. It was definitely a harder catch in terms of someone throws a ball at you when you're running away. I promise you, it is a lot harder to overlook and then turn around and do that. Sorry for people who are listening.
We are not the three most athletic human beings in the world for various reasons. I'm a man of substantial carriage. We have, a guy who broke both of his legs this year, and a guy who, whilst a fantastic cricketer, is barely knee-high to a cricket. But, so I can't really say when it comes to athletic feats, right? But what I will say is, I think the Puka catch is much more difficult. I think the way that he is smothered, I think the way that he has to turn, the way he angles his body, because what you're saying about where it's thrown to and where he is, he's exactly where he has to be to make that catch. The throw is perfect. It's over the top. It's the perfect rainbow into the exact spot. And don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal catch. Like, if these three catches end up being the three best catches of the season, that would not be that big of a surprise to me. But for me, the Burks one is the third best of the weekend after Puka and after Bowers. Bowers is just so impossible. It's just not. It literally is a throwaway. He's thrown it into the dirt, and Brock Bowers has gone, no, that's all right, I'll have that. It's wild.
Gino's so bad he didn't throw that away. That was meant to,
that was what he was going for. Oh, sweet Gino.
Like Gino was going for over the top like this. He's that bad. Look, my 2 penneth is Puka Nakua's adjusted in the movement of bringing the ball up and having Mike Jackson's hand in there as well, adjusted it and brought it round, and that ball control is unreal. We've all done it when we've been in a swimming pool and someone's lobbed a tennis ball at you and you've stuck a hand up and it's stuck and you've gone, oh my God, what a catch. I'm not saying that Traylon Burks was that, but I think there's more technique and skill and adjustment from the Puka Nakua one. But they're all great. They are 3 great catches.
As a man who is the shape and size that I am, you'll be astonished to find out I used to play in goal a lot when we played football in school. And I once, from point blank range, did a Gordon Banks, managed to save low down to my left and scoop it over the bar. And to this day, it's the greatest thing I've ever done. Athletic.
Well, do you know what? You're probably better suited to judge this catching competition than myself and Ollie then with that in your locker.
But that's what
didn't know who we were dealing with there.
For our American listeners, Gordon Banks was made one of the great. Was it Peter Shilton? I thought it was Gordon Banks. Now I've
It's definitely Gordon Banks in the
It's Gordon Banks.
1970 World Cup.
Yeah, when he scoops it up over the bar. Basically, I did that from point blank range. And it was one of those things where everyone stops and goes silent for a second and then loses their mind because they're like, no, we didn't just see that. Like, the fat kid's in goal. No one's expecting that. Like, today is the day when we headers and volleys 10-0. Like, anyway.
Amazing.
My what week 13 left me believing is that the MVP race is absolutely wide open. And I was thinking maybe I could narrow it down, but then looking at it, and let's be honest, the MVP is going to go to a quarterback. And if you look at the quarterbacks, go up. Well, there was a breath there. Come back to me there, Will. But
no, it was a breath of agreement. It was a breath of acceptance that after his 244 yards, 283 total yards in Germany, I really thought Jonathan Taylor had a shot. And then the last 2 weeks, he's been held to less than 4 yards a carry, well under 100 yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a running back, sadly, you have to be perfect. Whereas for a quarterback, you can have 10 brilliant games and great stats over the season and people can give you an MVP. You can have a couple of wonky games and people give it to you still.
And it's 10 brilliant games from about week 4 to week 15,
16, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if we're looking at it right now, I think there are 4 names, 3 names. I think there are 3 names in with a chance, and probably another 2 because of who they are and basically who they are. One of those because of what they're doing as well. So Drake May has been unbelievable. I know, Will, Gavin, you stayed up to watch just Drake May, and it's a great shout because he has been so good. There were questions about his accuracy after year 1. That's been sorted. It's like we're seeing. It's not the same kind of ascension as Josh Allen from 1 to 2 because they're different players. But the level that Drake May's gone up to, I think, is similar. He's been unbelievable. 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Prescott, all right, has an incredible supporting cast. That running game's finally got going. The defense is now supporting as well. And then when you've got 2 number ones in George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, he's in with a shout. Matthew Stafford, 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He went, 11 games without an interception, but showed that he was fallible against the Panthers earlier this weekend. So those are my top 3. But Patrick Mahomes really surprised me because he's not a guy that throws for massive amounts of yards because of that offense and the weapons that he's had over the last couple of years. But he has dragged the Chiefs along. And even in the games that they have lost, he's been brilliant. And because of the name, he could be there and thereabouts, as well as Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had a massively down year, but he did have that 6 touchdown game, and the voters love him. So I'm almost at a loss to think who they will pick. And if I'm picking right now, I think I'm picking Matthew Stafford or Drake May. I don't know.
Pick one. Pick one.
Matt Stafford.
So
I like that pick.
My feeling was that going into this weekend, it had become just Matt Stafford. Like, I really had seen the 2 losses for the Chiefs. I think we'd seen the limitations in their offense that Pat Mahomes couldn't fix. And actually the kind of superhero that he'd been prior to their bye, he'd kind of fallen off from that a little bit. Then Matt Stafford has, he breaks an NFL record, 28 touchdowns, no interceptions, like best rate that anyone's ever done at in the NFL. But then he has an absolute stinker in a game which could now prove to be huge at the top of the NFC standings. And that just brought Drake May back into it after his brilliant Monday night. But then Drake May's not had a single 300-yard game this season. And actually, they pulled back a Hunter Henry touchdown last night in the fourth quarter for a very ticky-tacky play. And so I like that would have put him over 300. I think as much as he's been brilliant and put the team on his back, the fact that they have played the easiest schedule, not just in the NFL, but according to DVOA, so Aaron Schatz's like adjusted like stat based on your opponent, etc. They faced the easiest schedule since 1978. And I think that will come into voters' minds because it's been talked about as a talking point. So I still think as long as Matt Stafford corrects the ship after this week, I think Stafford's very much my front runner. And he's been sensational. The no-look touchdown pass yesterday, on Sunday, was just jaw-dropping. And he does it all the time.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't get anywhere enough respect for some of the throws that this guy makes. Like, he's got so much swag on him for an old white man, and he does not get the amount of respect he should do. Like, so he does it all the time. And I mean, he even did it when he was at Detroit. And the thing, you know what? He's always had great receivers around him, granted, but he's still putting it up there for them to get. And I think there's such two different arguments when you look at Drake May and Matt Stafford. When you look at, they are literally at either end of their careers right now. We were pretty much told one tackle, he was going to fall apart this year. And what he's managed to produce, I mean, as well, getting Devontae Adams was absolute pure brilliance from them. And I think it
reminds me a lot of when they got Odell Beckham for that Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
Like, he is offering something completely different over the middle of the field, those in-breaking, like, there's just something completely different that he does. And the way they use him in the red zone, obviously, is unbelievable. Isn't he 6 for 6 in the red zone this year?
Yeah, something insane.
14 touchdowns on the season. Like, it's unbelievable. And actually, Stafford, for all that stuff about he broke the record and then had a bit of a stinker this weekend, like, all of his other stats are just mind-blowing. He'd be the oldest quarterback to win the MVP for the first time. The oldest player to win the MVP for the first time if he won it.
Wow.
And I feel like that will come into it. Like,
the
only guys who won it older have been Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, and they both were 2, 3, 4-time MVP winners at that point.
Yeah.
So I like the storyline of it. So
it's a bit like a Scorsese. We'll give him an Oscar because, he's been brilliant, but he's never managed to get one before. And this year he's good. Yeah, let's give it to Scorsese. Let's give it to Stafford. Look, we were going to do standout result of week 13, but we've had too much fun. We've been talking too long, but I would like to do our topic of the week. And the topic of the week is, well, which team do you love that's not your own? Let's start with Sam Harris, because you can't pick either the Colts or the Eagles.
Which team do you love that's not your own, other than the two that are your own?
Yeah.
By the way, sorry. There was one thing, and I know we're trying to stay on top. We can stay tight. You did just talk about white boy swagger. We didn't talk about Brock Purdy doing the Dougie, which is.
You are so right. You are so right.
One of the great moments of the season so far. And we will talk Purdy in future weeks, I promise you.
And he nailed it as well. He was so smooth with it.
He was unreal this weekend, and hopefully that offense is going to surprise some people. Anyway, let's
yes. So
teams we like that aren't ours.
And for me, it cannot be my Colts, or I'm not going to call them my Eagles. The Eagles that I'm fond of.
You've definitely called them your Eagles before.
Oh, 100%. He's a real,
on air, I think, as well.
We and a real us guy. Like, they're really bringing it to us today. Oh, yeah. Are you playing left guard?
The team I love that are not my own are the Seattle Seahawks. And I know that's going to upset you, Will. I know they're one of your rivals. And this love affair goes back a long time ago. Back when I used to listen to the NFL on the radio, on the old school ESPN app, you used to be able to listen to local radio stations. And for some reason, the Seattle one always had whatever the game of the week on was, and it broadcasted through in the UK on my app. So then from then, it would just turn on to normal Seattle radio. And then from then, I fell in love with some of the old, like Legion of Doom, the team then. I always just had a soft spot for them. And I think this year, they have been so impressive. I know I wouldn't even call it that much of a wobble from Sam Darnold. There were some questions that should have been asked after the Rams lost. But I mean, they turned the ball over that many times, and they still only lost by a couple of points. I think they're the force to be reckoned with on defense. They're very well coached. They just seem like they've got their head screwed on. They're driving forward. They still got to play the Rams again, haven't they? So I think that will be a lovely rematch that I cannot wait to see. They're just a team that, I don't know, it's a place I've always wanted to visit. I like the fan base there. It reminds me a lot of England because it never stops bloody raining. I find a lot in common with the folks of Seattle. And yeah, they're my team that I love that are not my own. So maybe call them my third team if you want.
This is a bit awkward. This is really awkward.
This is the first time he's ever said this. Like, this is astonishing. I've known this man for over a decade. And the first time he's ever communicated this to me. And I'm absolutely devastated.
I saved it for a good one.
Listen, doing the job we do, you can't really hate teams. But I will say that the only time I ever rooted for the Tom Brady Patriots was when they were facing the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. That's the one time where I wanted them to win the big game.
That says everything you need to know about Will's love for the. We won't recall them what he says into our group on our group chat, but
we can
yeah.
Call them the Rain City Bitch Pigeons. That's fine.
Yeah,
there we go.
There we go.
But what I will say is that we have had some phenomenal experiences there. I went to a Week 17 game there against the 49ers when it was basically decided the division and who got the second seed in the bye. When it was 16 playoffs, it was the game with the Dre Greenlaw half-yard tackle to end the game, unbelievable, right? And we went there for a Packers Thursday night game. Actually, we've been there for 2 Seahawks losses, so maybe that's part of why I enjoyed it so much. But the crowd have always been phenomenal, and the fans outside have always been phenomenal, and it is so loud in there. And genuinely, it's just a divisional rivalry thing. I don't actually hate Seattle at all. I love Seattle, and the people have always been brilliant. But you don't like your rivals. It's just a thing.
No,
right?
fair enough.
It's very English. It's very I'm sure that every Arsenal fan's got some Tottenham fans in their lives that they're mates with, but that doesn't mean they're going to admit it to anyone.
No. Yeah, and I've got, there are some Chelsea friends that I have. It's fair, and that actually generally.
I don't like anyone that supports Chelsea.
Poor old Ed Huntley. Will, who's the team that you have?
I want to hear yours first, Ollie.
All right. Well, it's often linked with players that you love. Like, I love Josh Allen. I love Lamar Jackson. I watched him all the way through college when he was at Louisville, and then followed him into the NFL. Christian McCaffrey, I follow him going from Stanford and then to the Panthers and now to the 49ers. I've also got to think about kits and uniforms because I'm a massive kit and uniform nerd.
Kit watch.
And the Los Angeles Chargers have hands down the best set of uniforms throughout, even the all yellow color rush-ish uniform. However, the team that I really have developed, and I'm this is a new sort of a returning love. But it's the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Christian McCaffrey, that worked. I was going to try and convince you to say 49ers.
I do like the 49ers, and I enjoyed going to their parties that I've crashed twice, and you always lose. The watch parties in London, but the Panthers. So Sam and I did a thing in a casino for talkSPORT. The clips are still online, and we had Panthers fans return to come and watch their game, and they won every single time. A stonking game against the Dolphins and a great win against the Cowboys. And I felt sorry for Bryce Young coming the first 2 seasons that he's had. He's really struggled, but it looks like with some decent weapons around him, some better coaching and better defense the other side of the ball, he is starting to flourish, and I'm loving it. Ted McMillan is great. I think they're just a really fun team to watch. Uncle Rico and
it's nice and easy to say this after they've just had a big upset, right?
But do you know what? But we would, and I could back him on this. We would turn up to that casino every week, looking forward to seeing those Panther fans because they're they're a fun, plucky underdog that you kind of want to root for.
They are chaos incarnate. They are,
I love
Carolina
it.
chaos. They've beaten the Packers, the Rams, and the Cowboys this year, and yet they've lost to the Cardinals and the Saints. They've lost by 25 plus points twice this season, and in 6 out of 12 games, they've scored 13 or fewer points. Like, if I told you just those 2 stats alone, you'd think I was talking about the Saints or the Giants or a team that are sitting on 2 or 3 wins. And also, there was a great Bryce Young stat at the weekend when we did the game on Channel 5. He's got 4 games this season where his passer rating is under 62, but he's got 3 games where his passer rating is over 114. Against the Rams, it was perfect. It was 147.1. Yeah. It's like, what is going on? Like, how do you pass those things? I'm fascinated to see what they do now with the Panthers, right? I think this is obviously more an off-season topic, but you probably go 5th-year option with Bryce Young and keep kicking the tires. Is he a guy who can get you over the top? Maybe not, but is he a guy who gives you, like, a fun floor that you can be pushing for the playoffs every year? Like, can he develop and turn into, Baker Mayfield with some more time in the league or someone of that kind of ilk? who
I'd like to see them stick with him. I really would. I think he's got enough in the bank over the. I mean, I know the way he returned after being dropped, he kind of came out like a man possessed. I know it was only for a few games towards the end of the season. He didn't start this season too well, but it just looks like he feels like it's finally his team, and he kind of feels like he's being trusted with stuff now. And like you are seeing progress in him, but as you said, there's been some absolute stonkers in there. But I would just like to see them. I mean, realistically, what if they're going to finish middle of the pack? They're not really going to get a decent QB next year in the draft. What's the worst that could happen with sticking with him? And look, what's the best that could happen is that he could have another massive upturn in form and could end up being the guy.
Exactly that. And they're one of two teams that have nilled another team this season. Mm-hmm. So that's the chaos, the Carolina chaos that I thrive upon. Will Gavin, who's your team that you love that's not your own?
Do you know what? I'm struggling, boys, because my thing always used to be, I love an underdog with a great fan base, right? I used to feel like it about the Cleveland Browns before the last kind of 5 or 6 years. The ownership, the Deshaun Watson of it, the everything else has kind of really put me off them. The Lions and Bills are prime examples of teams I want. Like, I'd love a Lions-Bills Super Bowl would be phenomenal because it's just the two most dogged fan bases who have really stuck with their team through some rough years. And now they've got either in like a great head coach or a great quarterback, and they've got something to like long-term celebrate about. I kind of try to base it on what, rather than that kind of long-term like love that's boiled under a bit like the Seahawks. I was like, who am I excited to watch each week when I'm turning on the TV and when I'm getting involved? And it's the most astonishing answer.
Don't say it.
I know. He's going
to say it. He's going to say it.
Because they are a team who, as a fan, I really, I never despise them. Greatness is
brilliant.
No. And being at Super Bowl after Super Bowl of seeing dominance was phenomenal to see. But I think I've fallen in love with the New England Patriots.
Oh.
I love Drake May so much. Like, I truly believe this. And I said this, and I just want to be really clear on this. And this is, I'm sure it's very easy when you do a lot of radio and you say a lot of things to pick out the things that you say that are smart, right? Last year I said the Bengals were going to the AFC Championship game. I say dumb stuff as well, right? It's not just smart stuff. But I, going into that draft, had Drake May as my number one quarterback. And I said going into this year, I think we are a year away from talking about Drake May as being an elite guy. I'm going further than that now. I think he's been so good this year. I think you need a second prove-it year beyond this. If he's as good this year, next year, and they push on and they're a playoff team and they're a contender, you're going to start talking about him in that group. You're going to start saying Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Drake May. Like, he's going to become that guy in the same way that Justin Herbert's flirted with it for a long time and had moments and really looked like he could be the guy and then not quite got there. He's phenomenal. I've always been a big Vrabel fan and hated the way he was treated at the Titans and loved the kind of no-nonsense side of it. The defense is so much fun. Marcus Jones has been brilliant. Christian Gonzalez, I think, is one of the top corners in the NFL. They're finally looking like they're fun up front and throwing some stuff around. They're a
huge cap space.
They're a team who I really enjoy watching every week. Do I want to see them have sustained success again? Probably not. But I don't know. I just fell in love with them a bit again this year. My long-term one, it would probably be the New Orleans Saints, though. Just because the city's so wonderful. Everything that happened with Katrina, the way that Paul Tagliabue, who passed away recently, kept them in that city, and the way they are the life force of the people there when they are on. When there's a Saints game on, it is in every nook and every cranny of that city. So they are my kind of longer term one. But this year, the team that I am excited to put on the All-22, that I'm excited to go back and watch the coaches film every week is the Patriots.
It's such a shame that we're not going to be able to post our first ever podcast, isn't it, now, because of that? This is going straight in the bin.
This has been good. We're posting, baby. Don't you worry. Will Gavin, Patriots lover.
Oh, dear. We know. Let's go straight to Greg Rosenthal, isn't it? Look, gents, it's time for us to look ahead to Week 14, and it's fair to say that we have really definitely approached the end of the season, the business end of the season. In this segment, we're going to pick out a couple of games. one game each that we are, despite this being an incredible slate, that we are looking forward to this weekend. Let's start with you, Sam.
Yeah, for me, Bills Bengals. I was looking at the slate earlier, and there was some great games for us to choose from, to be fair. But I just thought, do you know what? Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow, who has come off that win since he's come back from injury. This is a massive game for the Bengals. I mean, they're still holding on with a
In the hunt,
chance.
baby.
Still in the hunt. You're never out until you're out. And you've had a Bills team. It was a weird game against the Steelers on the weekend. They started off making a meal out of it, and Rodgers looked like he was put under pressure. I know they imploded and it went all wrong, but you look for the week that as well, they struggled. You don't really know what you're getting with this Bills offense. There was all talk at the start of the season. They need more weapons. They need more weapons. I mean, it's starting to show that way now. I don't know if they're starting to get a bit tired. They're coming a bit predictable. I mean, the other week they had, when me and Ollie were doing Sunday football on NFL Live, they had about 11 different receivers catch the ball, and I don't think any of them really went over about 50 yards. It's a confusing offense to watch, but when you've got someone with Josh Allen who's got the keys to it, anything can happen. And obviously you've got James Cook in the backfield as well, who's also capable of it. Then you look at the Bengals side of things, and arguably you got the two best wide receivers in the league with a quarterback that should be fresh and healthy now, looking to make a charge of things. I just think it's going to be a classic. It's mad that it's on at 6 o'clock. Hopefully it doesn't get lost amongst the other games, but that for me is the game and the matchup I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins is still a doubt in concussion protocol, so hopefully that he comes out the other side of that. But he has to be back for them, I think, to have a chance against the Bills. What I loved last week was Josh Allen and Cam Hayward going at each other all the way through that second and third quarters, and Josh Allen basically outmuscled him as a superstar, and won the game, put his team on his back. I love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. You're right. Great game, great game. I'm gonna pick the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. Now, Ollie, you're wearing a Packers hat.
Homer.
Wearing a Packers hat. You're such
a
homer.
A shot. You've got to take a shot.
Yeah. But this is a gargantuan game. Packers haven't played the Bears yet. Well, Bears haven't played the Packers yet. Packers are 3-0 in the division, having beaten the Lions twice and the Vikings. Bears are 1-2. Bears have to win this to stay atop of the standings in the NFC. If the Packers win this, they go number one in the NFC. It's ridiculous. It's huge. Add to that how good Jordan Love was on Thanksgiving, like just so good, so poised. I think they're a big game team. The Packers, they have to be like eyes on them, and they really stand up. And
isn't that funny you say that, right? This is the two games I've gone back and watched over the last couple of days. Was the Colts game and the Jaguars games. But I went back and I made a big point of watching Packers because I'd heard about how good Jordan Love had been. And I was getting frustrated with Jordan Love. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was like, is he Trevor Lawrence 2.0? Like, is he a guy who just has unreal arm talent and can make plays that nobody else in the NFL can make at times, but gets in his head too much, either over or underthink stuff? Like, I think there was a LaFleur problem as well. Like, I think you felt the same, Ollie. Like, the play calling just was not up to scratch. What I really noticed about the game this weekend watching it is that having Christian Watson there was a huge difference. And I know Dontavian Wicks had the big day, but just as the field stretcher, as the guy who just can make so much happen for them, that was a huge difference. But LaFleur seemed to need to have, you talk about them being a big game team, it's like knowing that it was the Lions on the other sideline and knowing they're going to go for it on fourth down all the time and knowing that they're going to, like, it just, that sort of thing seems to raise his game and makes him more aggressive and makes his play calling better and makes him call the shots at the right time. And hopefully that's something that sets them up for the playoffs, because they've not been a great playoff team, unfortunately, under him, as good as they've been in the regular season during the kind of 8 years he's been there. I was really, really impressed by the Packers this weekend. Probably the best game they've had this season for me, I think, on that Thursday night game. Best all-round performance, kind of both sides of the ball. Yeah, I know your special teams are always a bit of a wobble, but yeah, this is an unreal game. And it is for, it's Ben Johnson. Yeah, You were feeling yourself. You were pulling your shirt off. You were getting in there. You were mixing it up. But can you do it when you come up against the best?
Is that record for real? Are we buying into that Bears record? I can't believe that is actually their record. Every time I see they get another win, I'm like, what? When did that happen?
Mate,
Like,
it's not like the Colts. It's not a complete
no, no.
But...
They've played one. They've played one. They've beaten one good team, really. Like, and that's the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys when the Cowboys were terrible at the beginning of the season. Then it's wins against the Raiders, the Commanders, the Saints. They lost away at the Ravens. They then beat the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings.
Bengals game.
Bengals, Giants, the Vikings crept past the Steelers who didn't have Aaron Rodgers. So
I think where we can give them credit, though, and this is something the Bears don't usually do, is the fact that they are winning games they should be winning. So, I mean, that in itself maybe looks like they have turned a corner under Ben Johnson. But yeah, I think it's a strange record. I still don't believe it's true, even though I know it is. But yeah, it's a great game.
It's a humdinger of a game. Will Gavin, what humdinger of a game have you got for us?
What I like about going last when doing this is I can be the person that goes, well, we really shouldn't forget about. Like, we're going to ignore here 2 games which are between the 1 and 2 in the division to essentially decide the division potentially. Like Colts, Jags, and Steelers, Ravens are both just unbelievable games of football in terms of their impact. I think one's more entertaining than the other. I think Colts, Jaguars actually proves to be a better game of football. But for me, it's boring to pick the primetime game. But the primetime games haven't been great this year. As Ollie, as the host of Sunday Night Football on talkSPORT 2, will be able to tell you, they have had some stinkers this year. I think Chiefs-Texans in Arrowhead is as big as it gets this week.
Yeah, it's huge.
Coming off the back of that loss to the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, like it felt like the conversation was, if the Chiefs lose to the Colts, they're out of the playoffs. And they pull it out in overtime. They come back and have that second half where the offense suddenly starts clicking, where Mahomes does his thing. Yes, I'm sure Sam will tell you the officials had some involvement as well. But like, to lose to the Cowboys in the fashion that they lost to them, in the way that they just completely look like they weren't going to be able to touch them in the second half for long stretches. For the fact that their offensive line just gives up so many pre-snap penalties, for the fact that the receivers are all basically the same player and do the same role, and there is no variety on that offense. The fact that they still refuse to invest in running backs. This is the year where they need a reset. And I really think that, having given the Texans my love earlier, they can go on the road to the Chiefs. It's the prove-it game for D'Amico Ryans, and it's the game that sees the Chiefs really topple out of contention for the playoffs this year, which would be astonishing when we've only just crept into December. So, yeah, it's got to be Chiefs-Texans for me.
It's a great game to pick. It's a great game because there's so much on it. Patrick Mahomes with the spotlight on him again. We'll see CJ Stroud against maybe an improving Chiefs defense. It's a great game.
What I am intrigued by, and the problem is that the defense was improving and then the pass rush has disappeared off the face of the planet the last couple of weeks for the Chiefs. What I think is going to be fascinating. So next week on the show, we're going to be drafting our playoff teams, right? So we're going to draft 5 teams each, and there's going to be like a scoring system for how far they get in the playoffs, and we'll see who ends the year with the best like playoff roster, essentially. If the Chiefs win this weekend and go to 7-6 and are sat right on the edge of the playoffs and actually have a run in which suddenly softens after the Texans a little bit. They've got the Titans, they've got the Raiders, yes, they've got the Broncos, the Chargers, but it's at home and they're so banged up. Like, 3 very winnable games out of 4. Like, I'd be really intrigued to see if somebody picks them and how high they pick them, because you might get them in like the 4th round and then they go to the Super Bowl. Like,
I think we should have some jeopardy on this as well, gents, for the loser. I think there needs to be some form of forfeit towards the end. Whoever finishes last, we maybe leave that to the listeners to come up with something.
Yeah. Let's think about it. And next week, you tune in and you will find out exactly what that horror task is going to be. It's got to be some kind of fantasy football style. Losing, gambit. One of those ones where you have to sit in McDonald's and eat 24 burgers or sit there for 24 hours or whatever goes for longer. It's one of those type of things. So yeah, let's have a think and come up with a forfeit. I think Ollie's got to get a tattoo.
Of me.
Of the Chicago Bears.
The loser has to get a tattoo of the other two people high-fiving on their back.
High-fiving on their back. Oh no. We got those cartoons now, so yeah, it could be a cartoon. The cartoon tattoo. Gents, this has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys have as well, watching and listening out there. We'll be back next week for more across the formation goodness, breaking down all the big news stories and all the big stuff that's going on around the NFL. Gentlemen, thank you very much for the last hour
Thank
or
you.
so. And Will, Gavin, where can we see you next? When can the listeners see you?
Well, the main thing is talkSPORT this weekend. 2 big games. Colts Jags is live on talkSPORT from 5 p.m. with Nat Coombs and Will Varney. And then Ollie Hunter will be bringing you Sunday Night Football. That unreal clash between the Chiefs and the Texans is live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 on Sunday night. That's the main thing. That's what you need to know. I will be on the Channel 5 coverage of that very same Colts Jaguars game. So you can stick the telly on, stick the radio on, sync it up, dip into my little bits. All of it available to you in one weekend. What a joy. And then join us back again next week. Please do like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff I said about earlier, because it does really help people find the show. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, it's the first one. It's a bit of a pilot. It's a bit of a tester. It's a bit of a see how it goes. I think it was really good fun. Hopefully you do as well. Yeah, just let us know.
Boys, thank you very much.
Peace.
Take care. I guess that's how we sign off.